His Mets had a good weekend. He's tanned, very tanned. He just bagged his third hole-in-one a couple of days ago. But then there's the Jets. So no telling what kind of mood he's going to be in. Joe, welcome back home. Joe, how are you, man?
BT, Tiki, it's always a pleasure talking to you guys. Yes, I got my third hole-in-one. I'm not good enough to have three, but you know what? They can't take them away from me, BT. Let me say that.
Better
Joe,
lucky than good, right?
I don't know if
Better
you're good
lucky
enough to
than
have
good.
one.
Well, you know what? There's a lot of guys a lot better than me that have none. So I've been very fortunate, and down at Rutgers on last Thursday. So,
I've heard that's a nice track. So real quick before we
nice.
start burying the Jets here, what club did you use, and what was the distance here, Joe?
About 135-yard, obviously par 3.
Yep.
I used my 5 hybrid, which is really a 5-iron. Put it right at the pin. Looked like it, I'm yelling. I hope it's the right club because I knew it was right at it. A couple of the guys I was playing with saw it bounce, and then the next thing I know, I hear my buddy Joey screaming, it's in the hole, and he's running down the hole to see, and sure enough, it was in. So,
absolutely amazing.
Very fortunate.
Well, listen, Joe, I know a lot of people are fired up to have you back. We're going to do this every single Monday at 11:40 here on Tiki and Tierney. Hopefully we're doing you proud in the time slot. So let's tee you up here, dude.
Yep.
All right, I need to know this. Before you actually get into specifics yesterday, do that, but transition from what – I don't know what you expected from the Jets coming into the season. So give us a little bit of backdrop there and then morph into what you saw yesterday.
I expect the team to give me – I want a winning season, BT. I've had it. I've had it with this nonsense. And yesterday was the typical crap that we have seen over and over again with this franchise, all right? Mistake after mistake after mistake. First of all, let me say this, and I don't want to start breaking down every mistake. Breece Hall fumbles, Michael Carter drops a walk-in touchdown, the tight end Conklin has a first down catch that he fumbles, and they don't get the first down. They have to settle for a field goal. The pass interference on LaMarcus Joyner. Even early in the game, when the brilliant head coach doesn't challenge what looked like a fumble, and nobody said a word about it. It looked like the receiver caught the ball, made a football move, they called it incomplete, and that was the end of it. I'm sitting there screaming about it. I mean, there's so many things. Flacco throwing the pick because Cager falls down. I mean, they don't recover. How about they don't recover a fumble? There's 4 Jets right there. None of them come up with the ball.
That was a big play, Joe.
Next play was Jackson for a 50-yard touchdown pass to Bateman. The next play.
Yeah.
The punter kicking a 20-yard punt. Oh, my God. We could go on and on. The play calling, they get away from the run too much. You got Joe Flacco throwing 59 passes. The offensive line was horrendous. And I want to start with that.
Yeah.
All right? I screamed. And then you could look it up before the draft one of these offensive tackles. How do you have any confidence that Mekhi Becton is going to play? And what happens? All due respect to Sauce Gardner, hopefully he's going to be great. I hope he is, okay? But they should have drafted one of these tackles, either the guy the Giants drafted or the guy the Panthers drafted. One of them, because they should have saw this coming, and look what happened. Becton craps out. They sign this guy Brown. He's 38 years old. Of course he gets hurt immediately. He'll never play for the Jets. They screw around with George Fant. The guy's playing left tackle very well. Now let's put him to right tackle. Oh, what a disgrace. So, and that's all on Joe Douglas. I mean, give me a break, okay? And let me say this, too. How much longer, okay, until Wilson comes back, do we have to see this statue, Joe Flacco, quarterbacking? Where the hell is Mike White, okay?
Bench him.
Can we see Mike White play? Mike White played the best game any Jet quarterback has played in a decade. All right, maybe some of the Fitzpatrick games back in 2015, all right? And he's got more wins as a starter than Flacco. Flacco's never won a game as a starter for the Jets. White has mobility, and they never gave him a fair shot. And I think the only reason this kid isn't playing is because they're afraid that he's better than Wilson. And I really think that. This kid should be playing.
Joe, I'm not saying you're wrong, but that's a heavy indictment right there, man.
Yeah, well, why
he's not?
not?
He's not that good. That just means.
Well, how do
that
I
means,
know that? How do you know that? You don't know that.
I
You don't know it. No, you don't. You don't know it, Teak. They didn't give him a chance. He had a terrific game, okay, against Cincinnati, who goes on to the Super Bowl, may I add. Then he has a bad game against Buffalo. Okay, Buffalo's one of the best teams in football, and they're it's all over. The slipper is off. All of this. Then they start him against the Colts. He plays well. He drives down the field for a game-tying touchdown, gets hurt on the touchdown pass, and we don't hear from this kid again.
Elijah Moore.
Look, he was a late-round pick in Dallas.
So what?
He gets waived. You get drafted, especially as a quarterback in the NFL, for reasons where you get drafted. Now, sometimes they make mistakes, right? They miss. Tom Brady got drafted
all the time.
Hold on. Tom Brady got drafted
All
where
the
he
time.
drafted because he didn't even start consistently at Michigan. So I'm tired of hearing the whole Tom Brady thing. Oh, he was a 6th-round pick. All right, he was terrible in college, right? He made it when he got to the National Football League. But my point is, he got drafted where he got drafted, 5th round for Dallas. He gets waived. He gets picked up as a free agent. He gets waived and activated and all. Like he hasn't proven it anywhere. So I hear what you're saying.
Okay, so with that said, do I have to still see Flacco? Do I need to see Joe Flacco?
That's their material. It doesn't even matter.
Why is it immaterial?
My point is, if they think that Mike White is better than Zach Wilson, than Joe Douglas.
I completely disagree.
Hold on.
They don't have the you-know-what to do it.
But Joe,
they're afraid White is better than Wilson.
That's right.
He should be playing. He should be well, let me say this. Do I need to forget Wilson for a second? Wilson's not playing until week 4.
Yeah.
Can we see Mike White? You hope. Can we see Mike White this week?
Amen.
I got to see this statue while Myles Garrett is just going to destroy him this week?
But if they
Can this kid White play?
Let me finish this, and then I'll move on. If you think Mike White is better than Zach Wilson, then Joe Douglas needs to be fired tomorrow.
Well, Joe Douglas. Well, we can start with Joe Douglas's first draft. How was Joe Douglas's first draft? Mekhi Becton, Denzel Mims, Ashton Davis. Please, that's
the
a
backup,
John.
Joe, don't forget about the backup quarterback in round 4.
Oh, that's right. Where is he now?
Right.
Morgan.
He's gone.
That is a John Idzik draft. Okay.
Wow.
What a disaster.
Hey, let me
ask
you.
And wait a minute. And I look, some of these guys look good yesterday, but Breece Hall fumbled. Michael Carter dropping that touchdown.
Yeah.
He's walking touchdown. How the hell do you drop that?
Yeah, I mean,
give me a break.
If Breece Hall drops it, I'm saying, okay, he's a rookie. He's just not used to it. Like Alec Pierce had one of those down in the Texans game that I called against the Colts. Easy touchdown. He dropped it. It changed the whole course of the game. But let me ask you something, Joe.
Yep.
This is from not an organization, but just a perception standpoint. Teams that have drama in the offseason very rarely come into a regular season and just figure it out, right? You look at the Green Bay Packers. They had a lot of drama this offseason with losing guys and Aaron Rodgers talking
very overrated
talking
head
trash.
coach there, by the way.
Exactly. Talking
Head
trash
coach
about
is
his wide
very
receivers.
overrated in Green Bay.
The Jets had so many distractions. The Mekhi Becton thing was going on the whole time. The whole Zach Wilson the MILF, whatever nonsense was going on. And people got on me because I mentioned that. But if you're not focusing on football and you're focusing on nonsense, how are you getting better at football, right? I think this Jets team had some inklings of underachievement simply because you weren't talking football about this team. You were talking about everything else when it came to the Jets.
Well, let me tell you right now, if I was – because I think Salah's a disaster, okay? And I wanted Salah. I wanted him. I loved him in San Francisco. When he came in, and remember when he came to Florham Park and he left the building?
Yes.
I'm like, they're going to blow it with
Yes.
this guy. They bring him back. They actually hire him. I'm doing a dance. I really like this guy. It didn't take me long to realize this guy's another disaster as head coach. And I'll tell you right now, if I was Woody Johnson, he'll never do this, but if I was Woody Johnson, before Sean Payton winds up coaching the Dallas Cowboys next year, which is going to happen because they're going to flame out. McCarthy, we know, is not any good. Before that happens, can Woody get on the horn and maybe say, Sean, what do you want to coach my team? Because we know about the quarterbacks. They haven't had a quarterback basically since Namath, okay? We know that, all right? That's well documented. But they haven't had a head coach. Who's that? Well, Rex was good.
Herm was pretty good. Herm was fine. Herm was fine.
Who are we talking about?
Herm
Herm was
good.
all right. They went to the playoffs 3 times, but he couldn't wait to get out of there.
I know.
He was there 5 years. He couldn't wait to go to Kansas City.
Yeah, true.
The Rex Ryan thing, they should have never fired Mike Tannenbaum. The biggest mistake Woody Johnson made so far as an owner, he's made a lot of them, was that he didn't keep Tannenbaum and Rex together. They would have figured it out. And that is the beginning of the end.
Well, but Joe, hold on a second. Joe, listen, you and I are basically sharing the same brain on almost everything that you said there, right? But not that last part. To me,
okay.
And I thought it was time for Rex to go. I thought the act was old. The ability to develop an offense was painfully not there. I liked Tannenbaum for a long time, but I can't look at that as the point where the Jets started to sink. I'll tell you this. And I know it's never going to happen. And we can sit here and you screamed for basically 20 years on the fan about all the mistakes with the Jets. And hopefully I'll be doing it for 20 years. The bottom line is this. The owner, Joe. The owner.
Yeah, no. Hey,
it's the ownership.
Look, I can't dispute that. I mean, it's hard. He's been terrible. He's a terrible owner. There's no doubt about it. How could I say you're wrong? And look, all the great organizations continue to win. I mean, Baltimore, Pittsburgh. I think the Patriots are finally.
They're cooked, Joe.
They're finally on the skids now. But you look at the teams that win consistently, and really, it all starts with the owner. We know that always.
So that's Joe Benigno, obviously WFAN royalty, and hopefully we have a little bit of a different conversation next week after the Jets play the Browns. Brissett, obviously.
Don't count on it.
I'm not, but I'm hoping. I'm still.
Mike White, BT. Mike White should be playing.
Joe, it's the first thing I told Tiki when we got. I'm with you. All right, give me 30. I don't know. All right, now I've heard you for years, and I know how you think, but I don't. And I need 30 seconds, and more importantly, everybody needs 30 seconds on how you feel exactly right now about your New York Mets.
How do I feel?
Yes.
I feel good about them. I mean, this is the best team that they've had in my mind since the '86 championship team. But they have to win the division because if they're going to get to the World Series, they're not getting there by going the wild card route. You have to win this division. It is critical in my mind. If you got to play that 2 out of 3 crapshoot series where now you got to have more games for who knows what Scherzer is at this point. Yeah. You got to have more games with Scherzer and DeGrom. They got to pitch more. And then if you won that series, you got to play the Dodgers in the second round. Mm-hmm. No. They have to win the division. Look. They bounced back nicely. They won 2 out of 3 in Pittsburgh. They won 2 out of 3 in Miami. After they're losing 2 out of 3 to the crummy Nationals. All of that, and we want to thank the Seattle Mariners and Kenley Jansen for blowing that game yesterday.
That's right.
They scored 5 in the top of the ninth. Thank you, Seattle, for taking 2 from the Braves, who basically never lose. But look, I feel real good about the Mets.
Okay,
but
you
if they're getting to the World Series, they got to win the division.
I don't disagree. Did you have an issue with them retiring Willie Mays' number?
No, I did not.
Not at all, huh?
I really didn't. And I love the fact that Steve Cohen is finally embracing the history of this franchise. We finally got the Seaver statue up there. Look, Willie was an iconic player in New York. You could really look at it. Probably his best years. I know he had some great years in San Francisco, so I shouldn't say that. But he won his one championship in New York in 1954 when they beat the Cleveland. We can't say the name. The Indians. Sorry. Okay, that was their name back then, and probably still should be. But that's another story.
We'll forgive you, Joe.
Okay, we don't want to get me going on that. But anyway. With that said, okay, so he won his one championship in New York. He did come back to the Mets. He was part of that World Series team in '73, even though, he wasn't anywhere near the same player. I have no problem with it. Let me say this, too, okay?
Yep.
They got to retire Doc and Darryl, all right? And I don't want to hear about how it played out because I blame the Mets a lot for that, too. 2 young kids that had never even been to New York. They didn't police these guys enough. They should have done more than they did, all right? All right, instead of Frank Cash and looking the other way, don't get me going on him.
Yep.
But let me tell you right now, you cannot look at this franchise and not have those guys up there. When Doc Gooden pitched back in the 80s, it was electric at Shea Stadium. Shea Stadium, I don't care with Seaver pitching, DeGrom pitching, anybody.
Yep.
It was never like it was when Doc pitched.
Drew, I'll tell you this. I'll extend it beyond the parameters of Shea, and you could take any, and I wasn't around for the 2 Nick championships, but any solid iteration.
You probably won't be around for the next one either.
That's right. But you could take any transcendent team or or athlete who cut through New York. I put them up. The venue, the player, the moment, the sound, the energy. What you just said about Dwight Gooden, it was part rock concert.
No question.
And there was nothing like it. Nothing.
And there still hasn't been.
I agree.
It still hasn't
Matt
been.
Harvey was pretty close. When Harvey,
Yeah, a little bit
close, right, Joe?
A little bit,
Okay.
but still not Doc.
No doubt. Well, listen, man, it is so awesome to have you back. I know you. I heard you for a little bit with Evan over the weekend. You guys will be doing some Saturday shows, select Saturday shows. Give our best to Terry. Congrats on another hole-in-one. We're all thrilled that you're enjoying semi-retirement, and everybody loves you, man. You know that, Joe.
Good to chat with you, Joe.
Guys, B, we got to play soon, man.
You know what? You got to come to my place, Joe.
I'm ready. I'm here. You live in Jersey, right?
I do.
Let's go.
All right, man. Are you going to bring Terry too? I want to see you guys argue when you give her advice.
I don't give her advice. Let me tell you, so you got to see my wife play. She is and I mean this.
She's better than you now?
More consistent than me, for sure.
Go.
You're the best,
That means
Joe.
Better.
Joe, enjoy your Mets this week,
thank
and
you, Joe.
we'll talk to you next Monday, Joe.
All right, guys. Be
there
good.
You go. Joe Benigno. Joe B in the house. Awesome. 877-337-6666.